From Studio 1A in Tampa, Florida, comes a talk show that really feels your pain and tells you like it is. We love America and all that freedom-loving Americans want to protect. Live from coast to coast and on your radio, it's For the People with Keith Alan.
We'll help you survive this thing called life. We're for the people. Whatever your source of stress or strife, for the people is there.
Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Keith Alan and proudly welcoming you to For the People on this Monday, April the 3rd, 2017. Some wicked weather pouring across the country. It's that time of year, and I'm talking about tornadoes. They are very dangerous, and I'm a big advocate of weather radios. If you don't have a weather radio in your house, your dwelling, your apartment, your trailer, wherever you, fifth wheel, wherever you live, you should have a weather radio. You can buy them at Walgreens. Some CVSs sell them, some grocery stores sell them, but make sure, whatever you do, that there's batteries in them. They can save your life. I have one right on my nightstand. The batteries are charged, they're ready to go, and you just never know when one of these systems, and the National Weather Service does a very, very good job reporting the weather. And, if you're not tuned to a local radio station 24 hours a day, well, you're not going to get that report. If your television it's just too late. But those weather radios, they'll tell you that conditions are favorable. You'll have an alarm that will wake you up. And you can listen to the report and find out if you have to take cover. And it'll tell you when you actually have to take cover, where it was spotted, where it is in proximity to exactly where you are. NOAA weather radio. When you set it up, though, to make sure that you test it, to make sure that you actually have the right weather channel on there, and that there actually is something to lock into it. You actually have to sort of program it a little bit, but the instructions will walk you through it. And if you, for whatever reason, can't maneuver in the direction, some people are just directions illiterate. Just it doesn't happen for them. You know who you are. Pass it to your wife. Pass it to somebody that can get things programmed. But it's just a reminder because of deaths that occur because of these particular things. What's really sad about it, some of you folks live in trailers that listen to my broadcast, but for whatever reason, it just seems that always the trailers, people still live in them. We're talking trailers. We're not talking about the fabricated homes, but trailers. There's apparently millions of them in our country still left over. They're just not. They're not made as well, and they don't hold up as well. But if you've got a serious tornado going at 110 miles an hour, and this is what I'm looking at here, that hit the ground, a Royal Community. According to the National Weather Service, it touched down soon after a warning was issued. So that's what I'm talking about. A warning was issued by the National Weather Service. And had you had a weather radio, maybe they would have been alive. But Louisiana was hit, the city of Alexandria. One touchdown where winds blew off the roof of a gas station and knocked out power to thousands. Reporting KALB in the area, customers and storm employees sought shelter in a beer cooler. There's another use for a beer cooler. Taking shelter there and then having a drink on top of it. Why not? The National Weather meteorologist John Hart in Oklahoma said there was a significant risk of weather for Mississippi and Alabama as the system keeps moving east. Fire officials from Texas Village of Point Ventura said that several people witnessed an apparent funnel cloud there Sunday morning. Travis County Emergency District 1 Fire Chief Donnie Norman said there were several structures with severe damage, and there was one home with pretty heavy damage. The roof was completely removed. There was one resident there at the time, but she received no minor injuries. And a Texas state trooper reported seeing a suspected tornado touch down early Sunday morning near, you may know where this is if you're out in Texas, Center Point, Texas, about 55 miles north of San Antonio, Texas. National Weather Service meteorologist Yvette Van Davis said there was no reports of major structural damage. But this just breaks your heart. A mother and a father of a 3-year-old daughter, they were killed in Louisiana, where a tornado flipped their mobile home off its foundation. That's what I'm talking about, those mobile homes. And this is very sad. Listen in.
She was a very loving woman. The love of my life, my daughter, everything.
I seen the hail falling and everything, but never expected for this to actually come about happening. Sad. Personally, always smiling, happy, gullible girl, always happy, ready to help, do whatever. The little girl, Nate, loved everybody.
Well, there you go. Sad. It is the time of year, so if you don't have one, please. It could save your life and those around you. And again, big advocate of weather radios. And they've been around for a long time. It's just every household should have one. But make sure, like your smoke detector, if you replace the batteries for that, if you do, it's a needed thing. And if you can't reach, have somebody do it. But it's a good thing. Tough morning out in Texas. Another shooting to do with law enforcement there. A Texas deputy, as a matter of fact, was killed near a courthouse this morning, and the assailant remains at large. A manhunt right now. Assistant Chief Deputy Constable Clint Greenwood, he was a 30-year veteran, shot at least once at 7 a.m. local time. Baytown Police Lieutenant Steve Doris said during a news conference that Greenwood was administered aid at the scene and eventually life lifted. He's life lifted, a helicopter, but he succumbed to his injuries is what they said. He did not survive. Very unfortunate, though. No information on the possible suspect at this time was given, but manhunt is underway. Baytown Police are working the investigation in conjunction with a host of other agencies. Dangerous place out there for our men in blue. Pray for the deputy's family. If you'd say a prayer, I think it's just the right thing to do. Friends with so many people that put their life on the line every single day in law enforcement, and I have nothing but respect for them because they walk into a hornet's nest almost on a daily basis. And sometimes, a lot of times, as a matter of fact, you don't even hear half the stuff. It just doesn't end up in the local newspaper. It doesn't end up on the news. A lot of the stuff doesn't end up on the news, and you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised at what happens in your city. You'd be shocked. Or if you actually have the time and you want to look at other cities around you, like Chicago, and find out how many people were actually shot overnight, how many people were killed, it's just it's unbelievable. But crime runs rampant for sure. Thank goodness for good law enforcement officials that actually do the right thing, and that is to protect us, the citizens, which is great. Deadly explosion, this time in St. Petersburg in a subway blast, and this was very, very scary. At least one bomb blast on a subway train, and it wasn't clear if two went off this morning. And this happened in the afternoon, Russian time, but this morning, our time. And really inconvenienced a lot of people, as you can imagine. An estimated right now 10, thinking that the death toll might increase, wounded as many as 50 more, according to Russian officials, in what President Vladimir Putin called a possible act of terror. And from what these bombs were made out of were pellets and things coming out of them. I mean, it did not look like it was some kind of mechanical failure or something of the sort. It looks like a bomb went off, and certainly has traces of terrorism written all over it. But I would think that Putin is probably going to be hard on this. People at the scene say people were bleeding, their hair burned. A witness told Russia's Life News, "My girlfriend was in the next car that exploded." She said that he began to shake when she came out and saw that people were mutilated. Probably not a scene that anybody actually wants to see. But our thoughts with all those folks, they're dealing with that. Remember, double suicide bombings in Moscow subway on March 2010. Just a little flashback. Remember that killed 40 people, wounded more than 100 people. And to take responsibility there was Chechen rebel leader Doku Yamorov, and he claimed responsibility for the attack. So we don't know who, and nobody's claimed responsibility yet. But terrorism, indiscriminatory, where it happens, whether it's in Boston, whether it's in Orlando, Chattanooga, it doesn't matter. Your backyard, it doesn't matter. The bad guys are out there. Speaking of bad guys, it always gets me. It's the left at its greatest. They can't control themselves. I'm kind of skipping into a story because this kind of transitions rather well, and I like to do that when it works. ACLU calls for school police officers to go unarmed because guns send a negative message. Can you believe that? Police advocate for the ACLU says Pittsburgh school police officers should continue working without firearms. Really? Really? They try to do that over in Europe. No, they've tried, but people get killed when they're not armed. Do you think that the president's going to go around with Secret Service without guns? Do you think that your senator is going to go around without an entourage that actually has firearm at their side? Is your kid not any more important than those people? They can't protect? What is a police officer to do in this day and age of terror? If you can't defend, who else can? This is the ACLU's message. Take away the guns. I say go ahead and get a gun. Guns don't kill people. People kill people. It's clear. We here at For the People believe in guns. Get them. Be armed to the teeth. It's okay. Know how to shoot and use it for protection for your family and for yourself. Now, if you're unglued, unhinged, I don't mean anything bad about this, mentally unstable, you know you shouldn't have a gun, then don't have a gun. Just don't do it. Or if you know somebody that is, try to get that gun away from them. But for folks that can handle it, arm yourself. That this is just, it's just more the left's insanity. More singing Kumbaya, trying to get us to come on board on here. Well, guess what? I'm not going to eat this one. This is just a bunch of propaganda and garbage. You can't protect the children. You can't have them. Don't arm school police. And this piece that I'm talking about, by the way, folks, originally appeared in the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. And there's an emerging national debate about school policing, and it's not about ACLU.org. Now, having officer patrol the hallways with firearms sends a negative message to students, Jordan wrote. It makes many students feel that they are being treated like suspects. Places of learning are not security zones or criminal justice institutions, and they should not be staffed that way, according to Jordan. Instead, Jordan suggested that the Pittsburgh Police School District look for ways to decrease the need for cops in its schools. Well, I'm sorry that you feel uncomfortable. Well, in Columbine or at other high schools where shootings have taken place, if it wasn't for guns, more people would have died. More people would have died. And I'm sorry that you're offended. Now, do I not think, as a citizen, I think it's a little peculiar that you walk into some grocery stores, like a nice Publix that I have right down the street that I like to shop, where Shopping is a pleasure where there's an armed security officer right at the door.